In the intricate dance of power, there's a fundamental truth that many fail to grasp. It's a harsh reality that shatters the illusion of loyalty. It's leaving us vulnerable and exposed in a world where trust is a mere whisper and betrayal echoes loudly. If so, you've already lost. Welcome to the stark world of power, where the most dangerous assumption you can make is believing that loyalty is real. Permanent, unconditional. But here's the truth most people don't want to admit. Loyalty is not a foundation. It's a fantasy. Believing in it blindly. That's the first step toward being blindsided. Have you ever believed someone was truly on your side, unshakably loyal, someone you could count on no matter what? In betrayal, it's not rare. It's the rule. Look at any boardroom, any campaign trail, any high-stakes environment. Betrayal isn't a surprise, it's expected. Friends sabotage each other to move up. Partners break promises when a more profitable path opens up. And those you trust with your deepest secrets, they'll weaponize those secrets the moment it benefits them. Power is a game, not a fair game, not a friendly one, but a brutal, strategic game of deception. Power doesn't corrupt. It merely reveals what's already there. The choice, my friends, is yours. You can choose to ignore this reality, to cling to the naive belief in loyalty, and then get crushed when the inevitable betrayal comes. And the only rule that matters here is never trust, never forget. Because in this game, your ability to outmaneuver, to outthink, to outlast, that's what truly counts. Don't play with the cards you're dealt. Play with the cards you're given. Or you can accept this truth, not as a life philosophy, but as a survival tactic. A way to navigate this treacherous game without losing yourself. Imagine a chessboard where every piece around you moves with its own motives, its own hidden agenda. If you're not willing to let go of emotional attachment, you will be left behind, ignored, discarded like yesterday's news. But if you are willing to shed those shackles to see through the illusions of this game, you will survive. You will not only survive, but you'll thrive. You'll become a master of this intricate dance, a virtuoso of power. Everyone you meet is playing their part. Every handshake is rehearsed, every smile is calculated. And behind all of it, strategy, positioning, timing. Nobody is your friend in this game. Only players wearing masks. And the moment you become useful, you'll be welcomed with open arms. The moment you're not, they'll twist the knife without hesitation. Machiavelli saw this clearly centuries ago. He didn't romanticize human nature. He didn't buy into the fairy tale of eternal loyalty. Instead, he recognized loyalty as fleeting, something that dissolves the second self-interest takes the wheel. To the idealist, trust is a virtue. But to the master of power, trust is a weapon waiting to be used against you. This world isn't built on friendship. It's built on ambition, on competition, on people doing whatever it takes to get ahead. So here's the brutal reality. Alliances only last as long as you're valuable. The moment you stop being useful, the illusion of loyalty vanishes. The weak believe in blind faith. They think if someone stands by them in good times, they'll stick around when things go bad. But history proves otherwise. Power changes people. It corrupts friendships. It tests loyalty. And almost always, loyalty fails. And in that world, loyalty isn't a shield. It's a blindfold. Every conversation you have, every favor you grant, every confidence you share, it's all stored, remembered, and eventually leveraged. The moment you enter the realm of power, whether in business, politics, or even your closest relationships, you become a target. Now, before you dismiss this as pure cynicism, consider this. If you're unwilling to accept this hard truth about human nature, you'll never survive in a world that never stops testing you. In this world, sentiment is a liability. Remember, this isn't a game for the faint of heart. This is the high-stakes arena of power. Men forget the death of their father more easily than the loss of their wealth. Let that sink in. It means people will protect their material interests before their relationships. Morality doesn't govern decisions. Self-interest does. You have to be willing to act before others do, to strike before being struck. Because the truth is, the ones standing next to you today could be the very people plotting your downfall tomorrow. A ruler who's only strong gets outsmarted. A ruler who's only cunning gets overpowered, the ones they trusted most. Think about that for a moment. Who really decides the rise and the fall of fortunes? Who do you think controls the levers of power in our world today? The obvious suspects, the billionaires, the celebrities, the politicians. But beneath them, hidden in the shadows, are the ones you don't see. The enablers, the cheerleaders, the yes men. They may not have the spotlight, but they have the ear of the powerful. They whisper in the king's court. They shape the narrative in the boardroom. They pull the strings from behind the scenes. Do you know who they are? The enablers are everywhere. They're the ones who fan the flames of ambition, who encourage the risky moves, who push for more power, more control. They tell the CEO to crush the competition, the politician to exploit the masses, the billionaire to hoard even more wealth. They're the architects of excess, the dealers of delusion. But one who can do both? That's the one who survives. And that same principle applies today. Their fall wasn't just because of the greedy CEOs or the corrupt politicians. It was also because of the enablers. The accountants who certified fraudulent accounts, the lawyers who drafted misleading contracts, the bankers who packaged toxic assets and sold them to unsuspecting investors. Without them, the house of cards would have fallen much sooner. They're the ones who enable the worst excesses of power, the ones who profit from chaos and destruction. And they're always lurking, waiting for the next big thing. It's the next chance to make a fortune by fueling someone else's rise to power. The question is, how do you spot them? Are you surrounded by people who only enable your worst impulses, who cheer you on as you inch closer and closer to the edge of a cliff? Do you find comfort in knowing that they'll be there to catch you if you fall, or will they let you plummet to the ground? Psst. Because here's the harsh truth. When it comes to power, there's no such thing as too much caution. You have to assume everyone around you has the potential to be an enabler, and you have to be prepared to face the consequences. Don't let your ambition be your downfall. Don't let the allure of power cloud your judgment. Remember, the road to the top is paved with good intentions and littered with the bodies of those who didn't. Watch out for the enablers. You need the intelligence to spot deception and the strength to act when the time comes. Because alliances, in truth, are just temporary agreements between people who happen to need each other for now. When your usefulness ends, so does the alliance. The 21st century version of power isn't fought with swords or crowns. It's waged through influence, information, reputation, but the rules, they haven't changed, not one bit. The same betrayals happen, just in sharper suits and filtered Instagram posts. And if you fail to see that, if you believe loyalty will save you, you won't just be outplayed, you'll be consumed. And the higher you climb, the lonelier it gets. Every level of success you reach strips away one more illusion. The more power you have, the more people study your every move. They're not admiring you. They're assessing you, looking for flaws, calculating when you'll slip, and when that moment comes, and it will. Don't expect help. Don't expect rescue. The same people who once celebrated you will suddenly become silent, distant, or worse, they'll be the first to turn against you, to distance themselves from your fall, so they won't go down with you. If you want to stay in power, you have to be ready to let go of virtue when the moment demands it. One slip of the tongue, screen recorded and dissected. One lapse in judgment, headlines. And all those loyal allies, they'll ghost you. They'll rewrite history and pretend they were never with you to begin with. So if you're still clinging to the idea that real friendship will protect you in the game of power, you're setting yourself up for a brutal awakening. Even those closest to you, your team, your partners, even family, consciously or not, are measuring your value. They're watching what you give and calculating what they can take. Acts of kindness seen as weakness. Shared vulnerabilities stored for leverage. Every misstep cataloged for future use. In today's world, this is more visible than ever. Information spreads in seconds. One small misstep, it's viral. A ruler must be both a fox and a lion, cunning and strong. The history books are filled with examples. Kings betrayed by their advisors. CEOs ousted by their own board. Political leaders sabotaged by their own cabinet, not by outsiders, but by the people standing closest to them. Think about the fallen giants of recent times, the titans, who once seemed invincible. Enron, WorldCom, Lehman Brothers. If there's one lesson I want you to take away from Machiavelli's book, it's this: don't trust. Now, I know that sounds harsh. In fact, I'd almost prefer you to be cynical. The downfall doesn't come from enemies at the gate. What secrets can they expose if you've given them none? What pressure can they apply when you've already built the habit of standing alone? True power comes from within. It's not from titles, not from alliances. It's not from how many people are in your corner. Because corners shift, crowds move. But your internal compass, that stays. Machiavelli believed that a ruler's greatest weapon was on his army. It was his ability to adapt to deceive when needed. And most of all, to never put himself in a position where someone else could control his fate. Because dependence, any dependence, is vulnerability. And you don't have to be a king or a CEO to see this play out. It happens in everyday life. A promotion denied because someone else took credit for your work. A business deal ruined because a partner jumped ship. A friendship turned toxic because they couldn't handle your success. It's not rare. It's reality. It comes from the ones inside. The ones who knew the passwords. The ones who had access. The ones you never expected. They think success will bring stronger friendships, more loyal allies. But often it does the opposite. Because success changes your position in the hierarchy. It makes people feel threatened. It makes them compare. And where there's comparison, there's resentment. That's why the moment you rise, you start to see people differently. Rather, you start to see them clearly for the first time. The compliments become cautious. The support feels forced. And the people who once celebrated your wins begin to disappear. And here's the brutal truth. They probably never really cared about those wins. It's easy to spot these people. They're the ones who congratulate you in public, but privately wish it was them up on stage. They're the ones who offer advice you never asked for, but secretly would rather see you fail. Because their own insecurities make them jealous. A friend becomes a competitor. A partner becomes a liability. A confidant becomes a threat. Don't expect people to be virtuous when there's so much at stake. Don't trust them with your reputation, your relationships, or your future. Because the only person who will always have your best interest at heart is yourself. So cultivate that self-reliance. Let it grow into an impenetrable fortress around you. And then watch as your enemies turn into allies, your competitors into admirers, and your doubters into supporters. Because when you're truly self-reliant, you're not just powerful, you're unstoppable. Because when personal gain is on the line, loyalty is the first thing to die. It doesn't always happen in dramatic fashion. There's no sword fight in the throne room, no shouting match, there's no flaming betrayal. Most of the time it's quiet, subtle, a shift in tone, a door that stops being open, a message left unread, a favor not returned. And that's how power works. It isolates. The higher you rise, the thinner the air gets. The fewer people you can rely on. The more you accomplish, the more people want to see you fall. Not because you hurt them, but because your success reminds them of everything they haven't done. That's the price of power, the loneliness. And yes, it hurts. It's uncomfortable to accept that those around you might not care as much as they claim. That the love, the loyalty, the respect might be conditional. But once you accept that, once you stop relying on others to validate your position, your strength, your worth, everything changes. You become dangerous. Not because you're cruel, but because you're untouchable. I'd rather you believe that everyone's against you. Because if you ever let your guard down, if you ever trust, you'll get betrayed. And if betrayal is inevitable, if even your closest allies couldn't be trusted, then what is the way forward? The answer is simple, but harsh. Self-reliance. In the game of power, the only ally you can truly count on is yourself. The only loyalty that's real, the only one that lasts, is the one you build within. Your instincts, your judgment, your ability to see through the facade and anticipate betrayal before it happens. This isn't about paranoia. It's about survival. It's about knowing that the very people cheering for you today might already be planning your downfall tomorrow. In Machiavelli, he knew this better than anyone. He wasn't preaching cynicism for the sake of being cold. He was trying to give you armor, saying, don't trust blindly. Don't assume people will act out of virtue. Because when the stakes are high, self-interest always wins. Look around at business empires, political dynasties, even celebrity careers. Think about it. What can anyone take from you when you do not rely on them in the first place? And this is where most people go wrong. So don't expect loyalty from others. It's not because it makes you paranoid, but because it keeps you safe. Welcome back to the channel. As you grow, as you learn, as you evolve, your expectations change. You no longer expect people to carry you. You no longer hope for unwavering loyalty. You stop trying to find safety in others and instead build it in yourself. That's where the real power begins. Not in how many friends you have, but in how bulletproof you are when those friends vanish. You develop emotional discipline. You become calculated, not cold, but intentional. You move with purpose. You observe more than you speak. You listen carefully and trust sparingly. What we're suggesting is that you temper your idealism with a dose of reality. And may it teach you that the real test of character isn't how high you climb, but how low you stay when everyone around you is looking out for number one. As you ascend, as you achieve, as you succeed, you'll encounter different kinds of people. Some will be genuinely happy for you. Some will be envious. Some will try to hold you back. And some will pretend to be your friends, while secretly plotting your downfall. Don't be naive enough to mistake flattery for friendship or assistance for alliance. In the grand arena of life, there are far more competitors than collaborators. Because you've learned maybe the hard way that the people closest to the throne are the ones most tempted to take it. And in the modern world, that temptation is everywhere. Today, betrayal doesn't come in the form of daggers. It comes in screenshots, leaked emails, misquoted interviews, cancel culture. A single word taken out of context can spark a digital firestorm. That's when the masks come off. It's when you see who is climbing with you and who is waiting for you to trip. The game hasn't changed, only the tools have. The battlefield isn't the castle, it's the boardroom, the social feed, the comment section. And the winners are, and always the strongest they. The ones who knew not to rely on anyone but themselves. And the people who used to support you, they'll run for cover. Not because they hate you, but because loyalty is no match for self-preservation. So no matter how strong the bond feels, no matter how much you trust someone, it's wise to ask, what's in it for them? What do they gain by standing beside you? And if that gain disappears, do they disappear with it? It's not about living in constant suspicion. It's about being aware, being prepared. It's about knowing that power doesn't create betrayal, it reveals it. When you're broke, people smile with you. When you're rising, they cheer, but when you're at the top, we're not saying it's wise to be paranoid or to start doubting everyone around you, so here's to your evolution. May it continue. May it take you to the heights you've always dreamed of. Alright, so let's get straight to it. We all know that alliances can be fragile, right? That loyalty is often conditional, and betrayal is almost guaranteed. So what's left? What's left is self-reliance. It's not just a mindset, it's your only true defense. You stop wasting time and energy on people who wouldn't do the same for you. But in that moment when you seek it, when you reach out, you need to know what you're getting. You don't break. You simply move. Silently, deliberately, always 5 steps ahead. That's what Machiavelli meant by being both the fox and the lion. You need the eyes to spot the trap and the strength to crush the threat. You need to know when to be silent and when to strike, when to pretend not to notice, and when to eliminate the risk. Most people would rather pull you down than lift you up. Most people would rather hoard their resources than share them. Most people would rather see you struggle than succeed. Because the truth is, if you rise too high, you might expose their own mediocrity. And if you shine too bright, you might make their darkness look darker. That's why your best weapon in this game is clarity. The clarity to see relationships for what they are. The clarity to know that every alliance is based on utility. The clarity to stop chasing sincerity where none exists, and instead to invest in resilience. Because once you internalize this, once you stop expecting people to save you, to carry you, to always have your back, you actually become lighter, freer, sharper. You no longer waste energy managing false friendships or chasing empty validation. Instead, you channel it all into strategy, into building something no one can take away from you. No, and let me be clear, I'm not talking about your close family members or your partner. The people who should be your support system. With them, it's different. With them, you have the potential for a real partnership, not because they won't betray you, but because there's enough love, respect, and commitment to repair any rift. But even there, even with family, you still need to be strategic. You still need to choose your battles. Pick your spots. Don't misunderstand it. You need to build yourself a life that doesn't depend on other people's whims, promises, or preferences. Now, before we go further, let me make it clear. I'm not advocating for a life of total isolation. That's not the point. What I am saying is that you need to be the kind of person who doesn't need protection because there is nothing exposed. Who doesn't need validation because your sense of worth is internal. Who doesn't panic when things go wrong because you've already played those scenarios out in your mind and you have a plan for them. In the end, this is what separates the naive from the powerful. The ability to stand alone. Because let's face it, if someone else can make you, they can also break you. If your strength depends on others, then you were never truly strong to begin with. And if your strategy involves waiting on loyalty, well, you've already lost the game. That's the brutal, unglamorous reality of power. And while many people try to soften it with stories of brotherhood and we re-in this together speeches, the ones who actually stay on top, they don't play that game. They know better. They see loyalty for what it is. Temporary, conditional, a transaction. Let me ask you a question. Do you really believe that someone out there is going to stick by you through thick and thin? Come rain or shine, without expecting anything in return, just because you're a good person? Well, I've got news for you. That person doesn't exist. Let me repeat that. That person does not exist. People keep score. They may not say it out loud, but trust me, they're keeping score. Of what you've done, what you haven't, what they're owed, what they deserve. The moment your score doesn't add up to their expectations, that's when things shift. They won't always confront you. Most of the time, it's quieter than that. It's a missed call, a delay in response, a subtle change in energy, and eventually, an opportunity taken at your expense. When you understand this, when you stop expecting people to be better than their nature, you start seeing the world through clearer eyes. The world is a dangerous place, and sometimes you do need help. You need allies. And when people try to play games with you, you don't react. They'll justify it. They'll say you changed, that you brought it on yourself, that they had no choice. It wasn't personal. It was just business. It's what makes betrayal so dangerous in the modern era. Not to have the most friends, but to have the fewest weaknesses. Not to build the strongest team, but to build the strongest self. And not to win by trust, but by strategy. Because when it's all said and done, when every voice is gone, and every mask has fallen, there's only one question that matters, and the rule is this: no one is coming to save you. You must become your own hero, your own ally, your own damn savior. Or watch everyone around you get rich, famous, and successful, and then blame yourself for not having the guts to do the same. Thank you. Did you play the game, or did the game play you? We often think of betrayal as something personal, an act of disloyalty stemming from personal failings on our part. If only we'd been nicer, more generous, more attentive, maybe the other person wouldn't have felt the need to stab us in the back. We blame ourselves for being too competitive or not sensitive enough, not realizing that this is exactly what the betrayer wants us to think. Because in the modern world, betrayal isn't personal, it's strategic. It hides. It hides behind logic, behind professionalism, behind excuses that sound reasonable, respectable even, until you look at the results. In the old days, you could make lifelong friends in business. These days, you're lucky to hold on to acquaintances. Everyone's too busy jockeying for position, too busy sizing each other up. Two can play this game. In fact, you should play it better because you have nothing to lose. People will call you ambitious, ruthless, even treacherous. But you'll be playing by the same rules as everyone else. You might even get ahead of them. The difference is, you won't be surprised by the knives, you'll be ready for them. Because here's the thing. When you stop expecting loyalty, you free yourself from pain. But when you stop expecting others to have your back, you give yourself the freedom to do your own. When you realize that in this game of constant motion, there is no permanent advantage, no sacred alliances, no eternal truths, you become more adaptable, more precise, more powerful. But once you see the game clearly, you can start playing it with precision. Don't do it. Stay loose. Keep your options open. Never burn a bridge unless you have a reason to. But don't expect anyone to do the same for you. When the time comes, you'll know who's really with you. Not because they said they would be, but because they are. Everyone else is an option. Someone to be used, an experience to be endured, a resource to be exploited, and you're none of these things to them. You're simply a variable, something to be managed. You'll know when to stay silent. You'll know who to keep close and who to keep closer. Not because you trust them, but because you're watching them. You'll know when someone's helping you because they believe in you, and when they're just waiting for their moment to strike. When the tide turns, as it always does. When the support disappears and the knives come out, you won't be surprised. You'll already be 10 steps ahead, because while everyone else is building networks, you've been building armor. While they were building bonds, you were building independence. While they were counting on you, you were preparing for the moment they'd count you out. In the end, power doesn't corrupt, it reveals. It shows you who people really are, what they really want, how far they'll go when ambition kicks in. But more importantly, it shows you who you are, who you can be, what you're made of when the noise fades, when the mask drops, when there's no one left to lean on. That's the final test. Not whether you can win with others, but whether you can survive without them. So if you find yourself climbing, rising, stepping into bigger rooms, commanding more influence, ask yourself, are you prepared for the silence that comes with it? Are you ready to be questioned, envied, studied, copied, and eventually betrayed? Because that's the cost of real power. Isolation. It's not pretty, it's not comforting, but it's real. And those who refuse to accept it, they fall hard. The ones who believed in loyalty. The ones who thought friendship could outlast ambition. The ones who let their guard down. They don't lose to their enemies, they lose to their allies. So when the applause fades, when the lights dim and the room empties, what are you left with? Just you. The only person who truly knows the game. It's the only one who saw it all coming. The only one who didn't flinch when the knife was drawn. In the end, that's what it means to master power. Think about it. People aren't afraid of losing friends. They're afraid of losing leverage, of rocking the boat, of making enemies. People will constantly try to tie you down, to drag you into alliances, to force you into commitments, to box you into conversations you don't want to be a part of. So here's the deal. If you want to survive in this world, if you want to thrive in it, you must first accept its rules.